God's greatest attribute. Our time in Assisi, Italy, has flown by quickly, and soon we'll be leaving. These days have been filled with inspiration, from being with our gurubhais both in the Ananda community and from throughout Europe. We've also felt the blessings of the great Saint Francis, who Master called his patron saint, and who walked the hills above Assisi where our community is located. A dear friend here shared this beautiful story from the book Brother Francis of Assisi by Ignacio Larrañaga. Saint Francis and his closest companion, Brother Leo, were walking together through the countryside when Francis asked, "What do you think is the greatest attribute of God?" Leo, assuming that he knew the answer, happily replied, "Love." Much to the monk's surprise, the saint only shook his head and said, "No." Leo was puzzled and tried again. "Dear Francis, if not love, then it surely is wisdom." Again, St. Francis shook his head. Finally, the monk humbly asked, "I am but a foolish brother, so please tell me, what is God's greatest attribute?" St. Francis replied, "Write this down, Brother Leo, that the rarest and most precious pearl on God's golden crown is patience. When I think about God's patience, I burst into tears, because this is the most eloquent way to celebrate this greatest of all attributes. Oh, the patience of God." St. Francis then entered a state of ecstasy and drew Brother Leo with him into divine bliss. After some time, the saint placed his hand on the ground and said, "Mother Earth, bear witness to this oath. In imitation of God's patience, we will never hold feelings of judgment or hostility toward anyone." End quote. When our friend sent this inspiring story, she added her own touching reflection. Quote, "When I read this, I understood immediately what he meant. Being devotees, we know that God never leaves us. He is always at our side, trying to get our attention, whispering to us through our conscience, coming to us in dreams, giving us tests to help us awaken, carrying us when we can no longer stand. He does this lifetime after lifetime until we see him and realize that God is all there is. Millions of lives, and yet he never gives up on us, even though we keep turning away. Realizing this, I too started to cry." End quote. As I thought about all these words, I felt that St. Francis chose patience as God's greatest attribute because it perfectly unites both love and wisdom. With unconditional, eternal love, God embraces each of us, his children, and forgives us again and again because we know not what we do. And with infinite wisdom, God guides us forward over eons of time through the intricacies of our karma until at last we can unite with him. Whether or not we recognize it, God's patience is always there, shining as the beacon of light and hope to guide us forward. How important it is for us, too, to follow St. Francis's example of not holding judgment or negativity towards anyone. Patient acceptance of oneself and others is the key to true happiness and ego transcendence. In today's turbulent times, patience brings strength to endure, as well as hope for the future. In a few days, Jyotish and I will travel to Spain to take part in group retreats and a pilgrimage to Avila, the home of another great saint, Saint Teresa. I'll close with this prayer found on a note card in her prayer book after her death. It echoes the words of St. Francis and of Master's foremost woman disciple, Sister Gyanamata, quote, "Let nothing disturb thee, nothing affright thee. All things are passing, God never changeth. Patient endureth, attaineth to all. Who God possesseth, in nothing is wanting. God alone sufficest." May we all find the patience to attain God alone. Nayaswami Devi. Well, friends, this to me was a very, very touching story, both the story of St. Francis and what my friend wrote about it, just to contemplate that there is this divine power formed of love and wisdom, culminating in patience, that sees our trajectory through many, many millions of lifetimes and is always guiding us, just as a mother watches the child when the child takes his or her first steps, and though they're unsure, the mother is calmly there, guiding them to grow, to mature, to find the truth of their own self. And so it is with the Divine Mother and the Heavenly Father, always with unlimited patience, guiding us forward and never judging. I remember some years ago, Swami Kriyananda gave us a wonderful lesson about not judging ourselves too, because this is important. And in this story, true story obviously, someone had written to us a very, very critical letter, just saying everything that Jyotish and I were doing wrong and how inadequate we were, and on and on. And we received this letter on Christmas Eve, and we read it and were, of course, shaken by it. But Swamiji was having a party at his home for Christmas Eve, and we didn't want to spoil the joy and the festivities, so we said, let's just put this totally behind us. And we went over to the party at his home. Well, Swami, being a soul of deep intuition, who guided all of us with infinite patience as well, who, when he saw us, the first thing he said was, "What's wrong? Come, we have to talk." And he took us into a little private room away from the other people. The whole community, in fact, had been invited. And he said, "Tell me what has happened." And we told him that someone had written us a very critical letter, and we said what the person had said. And we asked him, "Swamiji, is what the person said true? Because if it is, we want to change. We don't want to be like that." And Swami's answer was perfect. And it's been a guiding thought for us ever since. Swami said, "You're doing the best you can for who you are." And then we pushed on a little bit, not totally satisfied. We said, "But Swamiji, was the person wrong to write such a negative, critical letter?" And he smiled and he said, "They're doing the best they can for who they are." And then he had just a blissful smile on his face, and he said, "And I too am doing the best I can for who I am." And so it's just so lovely. Those words were spoken, I bet 50 years ago. And yet they have stuck with us because it's, as I said, it's a guiding light. When you get down on yourself, when you feel critical or feel you're a failure, just hold on to the thought, at this moment in time, I am doing the best I can, and I will keep trying, because if God is patient with me, then I too should be patient with myself. And then as it applies to others, when you see them falling short or falling into error, just to again think, at this point in time, they're doing the best they can for who they are. And so just this thought of God's patience touched me so deeply, because we forget that there is a divine, loving, wise, patient force that is guiding our life until we reunite with Him. And so, my friends, I hope you too can move forward with patience and acceptance of yourself, patience and acceptance of others. And as each step we take towards that seemingly simple concept brings us closer and closer to union with God, to God alone. God bless you.